A new day and a new deal for Jabril Peppers in Foxborough. New England Patriots training camp is off to a fast start. Stick around. You're about to be locked into the Locked On Patriots podcast.
You are Locked On Patriots, your daily New England Patriots podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello to all of you Foxborough faithful. Thank you once again for making Locked On Patriots a daily part of your New England Patriots coverage and hopefully your first listen each and every day. Remember, Locked On Patriots is not only a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, but we are also free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So smash that subscribe button and download and follow Locked On Patriots wherever you're getting your podcasts to ensure that you get the latest episode as soon as it's available. I'm your host, Mike Debate. I cover your New England Patriots for the Patriots country. So reach out to me and let me know what's on your mind on X at MDABATENFL. While you're out there showing some love to Locked On Patriots social media style, please follow our account there as well at LO_Patriots. And Pats fans, today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to, and they help you do it faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. And Pats fans, it is day 3 of New England Patriots training camp. Definitely some interesting things going on the field, but the biggest news is being made away from it. Safety Jabril Peppers signing a 3-year contract extension, and now comes the question, who is next? And in order to answer that question, in order to find out who is next, we need a level head. We need a reasonable opinion. And when we need those two, we always go to the main source here at Locked On Patriots. My good friend, columnist extraordinaire for PatsFans.com, as well as being the co-host of yet another amazing Patriots podcast that needs to be a part of your daily Patriots coverage as well, Patriots 4th and 2 alongside Derek Havens. He's my Patriots paisan, my training camp buddy, Steve Balestrieri. Steve, thanks for joining me here today and helping me close the week in style as the Patriots put a bow on their first half week of training camp.
Yeah. Well, it's great, right? I mean, football is back. You know, they had, the fans out. Everything is always good when you see that happening. And, football is going to be with us now until February. So, we're right back in it. Obviously, they're not in pads yet, but, it's great to see the Patriots back out on the field, especially the new guys, the young guys, the new coaching staff. And, it's just the beginning of trying to put together a competitive team this year.
Absolutely. So well said. And a lot of things are going on the field, especially the Patriots' new look quarterback room. A lot of eyes fixated on the quarterbacks, even some wide receivers making some noise, some players that are trying to essentially sing for their supper, so to speak, Steve. They're doing the best they can to earn a roster spot. And we're going to get into all that in just a moment, including one of the biggest bodies on defense, potentially being next in line for a contract extension. But, Steve, you know who's not next in line for a contract extension? Jabril Peppers. His is done, signed, sealed, and delivered. Of course, we are awaiting official confirmation from the league on that. But coming from the source, Field Yates, one of the best in the business, Jabril Peppers signing a 3-year contract extension with a base value of $24 million, worth up to $30 million. Steve, we've talked about this several times. The key to a New England Patriots defense is usually a strong secondary. There have been times where the Patriots have maybe even been a little bit weaker up front, but the strength of their secondary has been able to carry them in a lot of respects. I don't think that's going to be the case this year. I think the Patriots are equally formidable up front as they are in the defensive backfield. But one of the major reasons why that backfield is so strong and so prolific is because of Jabril Peppers. He's been one of their best defenders, especially the last 2 years. Patriots already locking up Kyle Duggar. Now Jabril is in the house. He's going to be locked up long term. What are your thoughts on this, and what do you think it means for the Patriots secondary moving forward?
Oh, I absolutely love this move. I've been a big, I've been a big Peppers proponent since he came here. And, he's another one, and quite possibly the last one, right? That Bill Belichick, was able to bring in. There wasn't a lot of fanfare, because of his injuries, but we saw glimpses of it. I thought last year, he really came on, and I think he's one of the biggest parts of the defense now. He's just all over the place. He's a great playmaker. I love the fact that they were able to lock him up long term. Now they're going to have him for the next 4 years. So I think that's great. I just love the player. I think he's going to be a big part of the defense once again this year. And it's because of the versatility. I mean, he can roam all over the field. He's best down in the box type role, but he can play dime linebacker, in the box safety. At times he can cover the tight ends depending on what scheme they're in. I think this is an awesome move for them, especially right at the beginning of training camp, because it's a signal to the other guys that it's not over. If you want to get paid, you keep showing up and performing the way you can, and you will.
So well said in so many different ways. And I'm glad you mentioned his versatility, because that's something that I don't think is publicized enough. It definitely gets its play here in New England. The Patriots beat writers do a very good job of explaining how valuable Jabril Peppers is to this team. But you look at a lot of the national reaction on this, and people are saying, oh, that looks like an overpay for New England. Doug Farrar of Athlon Sports, my colleague at Athlon Sports, really, I think, put this in perspective and really told a lot of people this morning about how good this guy has been on the Patriots secondary. I don't think it's a stretch of the imagination. I'm not going out on a limb here. I'm just saying facts, folks. Jabril Peppers deserved to be a Pro Bowler last year. I absolutely believe that, and you can't convince me otherwise. 78 total tackles, 8 pass breakups, 1 sack, 1 interception, a forced fumble, and a recovery. He played in 15 of 17 games for the Pats last season, his most productive by far as a Patriot, and one of the very few bright spots on that team last year. I know defensively the Patriots played well collectively, but Jabril was one of the standout stars on that defense last year, and it doesn't surprise me that he would be rewarded by the Pats in this fashion. I think it's a good contract. I think it's definitely a great payday for Jabril Peppers, no question about it, but I think he's earned every bit of it for the reasons that you've described. This guy is a versatile weapon all over the field. He's at his best at the box. You explained that very clearly and very concisely, but he's played free safety before. He's played out wide at the cornerback position. We've seen him take snaps in the slot throughout his career. You don't see him do it that much, but he can do it. He can play that hybrid linebacker and even get up toward the line of scrimmage. We've even seen him take some snaps along the defensive line throughout his career. So the versatility he brings is so important. It's so intrinsically Patriot. Whether Bill Belichick is coaching, whether Drake Maye is coaching, obviously DeMarcus Covington now is the defensive coordinator. He's going to have his fingerprint all over this defense. Versatility is something that is not going away. That's going to remain constant, and it's going to remain a part of the Patriots' MO, or their aura, so to speak. They love versatile players that they can plug all over the field and can play multiple positions. Jabril is one of those guys, and he likes being here, and he wants to be here, and that's why he signed here. And he's excited to move forward. We had the opportunity to talk to him earlier this week on the field for training camp, and Jabril is just one of those guys that really appreciates playing football and playing football for the New England Patriots. So not a whole lot not to like here, bud.
No, and with the versatility thing, it speaks volumes about his football intelligence, because he knows where all the moving parts are going. And that's so valuable, because, he'll be able to diagnose stuff. And he knows where his players are going. And when he diagnoses what the offense is doing, he can react so quickly. He doesn't have to overthink things. And that's why I thought last year, I agree with you. I thought he should have been a Pro Bowler last year. I thought he was outstanding. And somebody today, now I've lost my train of thought who it was, but they replayed that hit he laid on in the Raiders game where He caused a fumble down inside the 20-yard line, might have been even inside the 10, and it recovered by Jelani Tavai. And it's just one of those plays where he can lay the lumber. I mean, he's just a really, really excellent player. And I can't be any happier because I think it's going to make this defense even better.
Agreed. I think it absolutely is going to make this defense better. And you're already seeing it this season out on the field at training camp. You got a lot of bodies right now and a lot of defensive backs, whether they're officially aligned at corner or officially aligned at safety. These guys now are trying to make their mark, and whether they land on the practice squad or the 53-man roster or maybe even on another team's radar, Jabril Peppers is pulling these guys aside. He's showing them where they need to be, what they need to do. That type of leadership also speaks very well about this guy. It's not just about what he does on the field. It's about the way he interacts with his teammates, and it makes him such a valuable part of this New England Patriots team moving forward. And you mentioned the hits. You got to love the physicality that this guy brings to the field. Good luck with him and Kyle Duggar back there in that secondary. I give a lot of credit to anyone that's thinking about going over the middle on this defense. That, to me, is going to be very interesting when you watch what Jabril Peppers and what Kyle Duggar can do. And they really formed, I think, one of the top defensive backfield tandems in the NFL last year. Yeah, I think that's going to be the case this year, maybe even then some. So, Steve, bottom line, the Patriots are off to a fast start, and Jabril Peppers has himself a new deal. But there are a couple of guys on the field right now that don't have new deals yet, and it's becoming a topic of conversation throughout the media, throughout the fan base, and really throughout the players themselves. Our good friend, our mutual friend, Steve Thomas Murphy, joined me here earlier this week, and we talked a lot about the potential new deal for Matthew Judon. Well, on Friday, Davon Godchaux stepped to the microphone, and his contract status took center stage. Steve and I are going to discuss Davon's value to this team, whether what he had to say makes you feel better or worse about his potential future in New England, and what it means for the Patriots defense as a whole. We'll discuss all that and more when this episode of the Locked On Patriots podcast continues, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Locked On listeners, passion, drive, and patience is what brings home that winning trophy. You know what? It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. Our good friends over at eBay Motors have everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers to roof racks to exhaust kits, LED headlights, and so much more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Pats fans, thank you so much for joining us here today on Locked On Patriots. And who better to go inside training camp with than our resident voice of reason right here on Locked On Patriots, my Patriots paisan, Steve Balestrieri of PatsFans.com. And Steve, we opened with the story of the day, not necessarily talking about the action on the field when it comes to training camp, but contract extension for Jabril Peppers, 3 years. I think worth every penny of it. The Patriots are happy to have him in the Foxborough fold, and Jabril is happy to have this wrapped up. But we all know that there are two contracts out there right now that are causing a bit of a stir throughout the fan base and the media and really the national media as well. Matthew Judon's already been vocal about his desires. He said he will not be a distraction. He's going to be out there on the field. He doesn't want to play under the current contract that he has, but he signed on the dotted line. He'll honor it, and he'll do the best he possibly can. It sounds somewhat optimistic, but until you really start to get the feel for where the contract negotiations are headed, it's very difficult to say with any degree of accuracy whether he's going to be back or whether he's not. Well, the second half of that contract tandem is Davon Godchaux. And of course, we all know that Davon signed a contract extension in the offseason of 2022, heading into this season with a potential base salary of $7.15 million. The only problem is, Steve, none of that, not a single penny, is guaranteed. And I don't blame Davon on this one. He doesn't really like it that much. That's not something that he's really comfortable playing with. And most of us thought when Davon Godchaux showed up on the field on Wednesday to practice, did not hold out, was a full participant, that it looked like he was going to take a page out of the Matthew Judon book, not be a distraction, do his job, and work behind the scenes to get this done. Well, when he showed up in uniform but did not participate on Thursday, the rumor mill began to churn. The speculation began to go into overdrive. He's holding in. This has got to be contract related. He's not getting out there and doing anything because of his contract. Well, Davon set the record straight. Drake Maye set the record straight, and both of them have assured us that it did not have anything to do with his contract. Regardless of what, Davon is still looking for respect. As a matter of fact, earlier today for Athlon Sports Patriots Country, I wrote that Davon Godchaux is channeling his inner Rodney Dangerfield. Oh, what's some respect, In any case, I don't think that's a joke. I think he's looking for it, and it's definitely not a joke that he deserves it. The question is, how close is he to getting it? Steve, when you look at this situation, you look at Davon's contract, you look at his age, what he brings to the table in the middle of that defense, in your opinion, how likely is it that a deal gets done? How much value do you think each side is placing on each other right now to get a deal done?
I think with Drew Rosenhaus, he's always had a good relationship with the Patriots. Mm-hmm. Of course, that was with a different regime. But I do think they're going to get something done because, as you and I have said several times on this show, the Patriots don't have another guy basically the size of Godchaux and what he can bring to the table. So I really believe that they are going to get something done unless, they're planning on changing their philosophy. And, maybe they'll let him play out this year and move on next year. But I just don't see that happening right now. I think they're going to end up coming to an agreement and getting something done that works for both sides. And Rosenhaus can be a tough guy to deal with, but he's always got things done with the Patriots. There's never been any acrimony. And Godchaux's comments today, he basically said all the right things. He wants to get paid, obviously, which no one can fault him for that. But he's excited for the other guys that have been rewarded so far. And, he just wants some stability. Mm-hmm. And he mentioned that, which, again, you can't fault a guy for this. And so I believe that they're going to get something done.
Yeah, I absolutely believe they're going to get something done, too. I think you could tell by the way that Davon was talking to the media and the comments that he made to the media after practice and saying that, I'm a little frustrated going out there and playing with no guaranteed money, but I'm going to put it in Drew's hands. He's going to take care of it. And I think right now Davon is looking forward to this not being a distraction. And I'm glad that he said what he said today. He hit it head on. He answered the questions as they were asked, and he was very forthcoming. And I think that's something that will help put a little bit of a damper on some of this speculation. Look, there are still going to be people out there that say, oh, no, well, I don't care if Drake Maye came out and said that it had to do with a little bit of tightness. This was due to his contract. I'm going to take the athlete and the coach at face value at this point. Neither one of them have given me reason to question their judgment. So I'm going to sit there and say that was indeed the case. But again, Davon did not hide behind that rhetoric. He did make it known that he would like to get something done. Do you get the feeling that this relationship can be harmonious even if they can't get a deal done? Or the longer this lingers, is this something that could fester, in your opinion?
That's a good question. At an absolute minimum, if they decide that they're going to part ways, maybe they'll just guarantee his salary for the entire season. And at least he will have that in his back pocket. So, he's not worried about getting paid for this year. I know he won't be happy, on a 1-year deal, but in the same token, he'll be playing, for a paycheck this year. So, that could stir the pot a little bit for him. But, this regime has pretty much made it clear that they're going to reward the good guys. And he's been a good defensive player for them. Last year, they were number one in rushing yards per attempt, against the run. And he was a big part of that.
On-field prowess is certainly there, and I think you've articulated that. He started every game that he's played for the Patriots since signing that extension back in 2022. Last year, I thought he had a very good season. Started all 17 games, 25 solo tackles, 56 combined, 1 quarterback hit, 4 pressures, and 1 forced fumble. But the job he does in the middle of that defense, being a run stopper, being a facilitator for everyone else to be able to stop against the run, and really allowing the pass rushers to focus exclusively on rushing the passer and not having to worry about having an eye on the run. Davon is someone that absolutely commands the respect and the attention of opposing offenses. And that, to me, is his value. And I think that's why the Patriots would like to get something done. And Drake Maye also made a point that this guy is one of those heart and soul ball players that you love to employ on the roster. There's a lot of personal reasons why he is someone that is valuable to this franchise. Excellent in the community, great cultural impact in terms of what he brings to the table. This is the type of guy that you want to have on your team. And the Patriots have done a very good job locking up a lot of them this offseason. High character, high moral guys that are willing to come in, put the work in, and not necessarily need the individual accolades. It's a credit to the former regime for building that culture here and cultivating players that fit in well with it. And kudos to the new regime for keeping that intact, because I do believe that's one of the great things and the legacies that we have here in New England since 2000. And I'm glad to see that guys like Mayo and Wolf are committed to keeping that top of mind every single time they think about extending a player or keeping him here or signing an external player. Those are the important things that the Patriots will need. Steve, when you look at Davon now and you hear his comments, and from what you heard from Matthew Judon a couple of days ago, I'm going to put you on the hot seat here, bud, just because it's something we like to do here on Locked On Patriots, and it'll be fun for our listeners. Which of these do you think gets done first? Is it Judon? Is it Godchaux?
I think it's going to be Godchaux. I'm still holding out hope that they can work something out with Judon as well.
Me too.
But I just have that feeling that it's going to be Godchaux first, Judon second.
I do. I agree with you. It pains me to agree with you. And that's no disrespect to Davon Godchaux at all. I think he's worth every penny the Patriots will pay to extend him, folks, and deserves every bit of it. But there is something about Matthew's comments on Wednesday and just, kind of saying that I feel that I've given everything that I can to this team, this organization. He was overheard telling a fan, I'm going to bring out down Elliott Wolf and tell him you said that, I need to be getting paid. I think it is something that is weighing on him. And it may serve as a motivational factor because Matthew always channels that type of either discontent or even anger in certain circumstances, channels it on the field. It's going to make him all that much more potent when he takes the field and tries to get after opposing quarterbacks. Good luck to them this year. Matthew Judon's going to be heavily motivated, but at the same time, for everything he brings to the community and everything he brings to the fan base, you'd like to see him get rewarded. So I really do hope that there is an extension in Judon's future. But I also look at Godchaux and the reasons that we talked about, and maybe the age factor at 29 as opposed to being 32 now in August, 33 next year, that could factor into those decisions as well. And the number of different things that Godchaux can do and does help facilitate in that defense, things could get very interesting. But I agree. I think it is going to be Godchaux first and Judon second. But ultimately, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, I'd love to see both of these guys get extended. Patriots have the money to do it. Let's get the job done, folks, because these two guys are cornerstone players, especially on a defense, Steve. It looks like it's going to need to be very, very good this year in order for the Patriots to be on their game and be in any of the games that they're playing. A couple of rough days for the offense in a row, although I will give them credit. Friday was a little bit better. Steve and I are going to flip the script in just a moment. We're going to talk about the offensive side of the ball for New England, particularly the quarterbacks, Jacoby Brissett, Drake Maye, Joe Milton, and what it means for the receivers and what it means for this offense heading into 2024. More on Patriots training camp in just a moment when this episode of the Locked On Patriots podcast continues, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Locked On listeners, when you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team to help you do it faster. Here's the best part, folks. They help you do it for free because LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. And on LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Patriots fans, thank you once again for joining us here today on Locked On Patriots. We are going inside training camp with the resident voice of reason here on Locked On Patriots, my good friend Steve Balestrieri of PatsFans.com. And of course, before we continue our discussion on Patriots training camp, just wanted to take a moment to give a well-deserved tip of the cap to all of you everydayers, all of you Locked On loyalists that continue to make Locked On Patriots your first listen each and every day. We're continuing to bring you boots on the ground coverage from Foxborough here, and it's just getting going. A lot of exciting guests lined up next week. Pads are coming on, folks. Training camp is about to get very exciting, so stick with Locked On Patriots for your daily Patriots coverage. You will not be disappointed, I promise you that. And of course, if you have made Locked On Patriots your first listen each and every day, besides our heartfelt thanks, we also want to encourage you to make your second listen our good friends over at Locked On NFL. All the league's hottest stories from all the training camps throughout the league, brought to you by the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network that you can find only here on Locked On. So download, subscribe, follow Locked On NFL wherever you get your podcasts to make sure that you're getting the latest episode as soon as it's available, just like you do for Locked On Patriots. But before we take our leave of Patriots training camp discussion today, Steve, the New England Patriots are predicated on their defense. And if I'm being honest, from what I've observed, the Patriots defense looks light years beyond what the offense looks like right now. But there are seedlings, there are building blocks on this offense that really make you see what this offense can be. And on that basis, I think Patriots fans should feel very good about the future of this team. Maybe not the immediate future, but the future, because Drake Maye is showing signs of being an exciting quarterback. They have some exciting receivers on this team and a couple of veterans that are starting to round into form. I know you keep a sharp eye on everything and anything happening in Foxborough right now. From what you've heard about the steady hand of Jacoby Brissett, from what you've heard about the exciting arm of Drake Maye and the even more exciting arm of Joe Milton and some of the receivers, what's been your takeaway from the first 3 days of training camp when it comes to the Patriots offense?
Well, I know they haven't been clicking on all cylinders, and part of that has to do with the defense they're going against. Okay. We've been touting the Patriots defense for quite some time, and they're really good, and they're good for a reason, because they can make life very difficult for offenses, and they know this one. And plus the fact, without the pads, this offense is going to be predicated on the running game. And, it's really hard to judge the running game as well as the pass protection, without the guys having pads on them. So with that being said, the offense still looks kind of clunky. I've watched the film that has been out there, and it still looks kind of clunky, but we fully expected that. You have a bunch of new players. You have new coaching staff, a whole new system, and everyone's trying to find their role in it. That being said, though, we have seen some plays. Drake Maye made a beautiful pass to Jalen Reagor on day one, down the sideline, and then he made a nice one this morning or Friday morning, right? Jalen Polk,
right?
They connected on about a 40-yard pass down the field, and he hauled it in and went down pretty close to the goal line. Would that have been complete in pads? That's a question you could ask, because I thought that, from watching the film, I think it was Jalen Hawkins, the free safety.
Right.
He was coming over hard, and he might have been able to separate him from that ball had it been, a game type situation. But the fact that the chemistry's there, the timing was there perfectly. And then you made mention of Joe Milton. He threw one, it looked like, from the video that I saw a clip of, it was like 65 yards complete in the air.
Yeah.
And to Javon Baker. And that's just something, we haven't seen stuff like that in Foxborough in quite some time. So that was really interesting to see. And I like the fact that you're seeing the young guys step up, right? It was May, it was Polk, it was Joe Milton, Javon Baker. These are the type of things, we're talking baby steps, right? You built a little bit of a foundation, and seeing these guys be able to do that. Now, I don't believe the pads come on until Monday. So that will be another big step, because then you'll be able to see, the running game. Right now, it looks like, that scheme that AVP is bringing in, it looks like Ramondre Stevenson has it down pretty well. It's tough to judge because, again, there's no pads, and very limited looks at it. But I think, there's room to grow there, and it's going to take a while.
Yeah, it will. And I'm glad you mentioned Ramondre before we get into a little bit more quarterback talk and a little bit more receiver talk, because Ramondre is someone that, on paper, and from what we've seen from him and his body of work, even back to his days at Oklahoma, he runs this system so well. So you have to think that he's going to have a leg up on the competition and is going to be ready to roll. I agree with you. We're going to see really how far along this running game could carry the offense when the pads come on. So that's going to be interesting. And I think that's where you can really start to judge this offense instead of calling it either horrendous or awful or terrible. We haven't seen enough of a sample size, I think, to really label what this offense looks like. You can say different performances or different plays were bad, but to give it an overall grade right now, I think is a disservice, simply because there just isn't enough to really bite onto. So that's my 2 cents on the offense. Give these guys their fair shake. On the other hand, when it comes to the quarterbacks, and you talked about this a little bit, you came out wanting to see Drake Maye's arm strength. He showed it off the last couple of days, especially on Wednesday and on Friday. You go back and you look at Joe Milton and you hear about the cannon for an arm. He showed that off. I underestimated that at about 60 yards, but I think it went a little bit further than that. That really was an exciting pass to Javon Baker, and it shows that Javon can get down the field. He can catch the long bomb. That's something that you really want to see a lot more of, because I think these guys are so well suited for that type of game. And then you mentioned the rookie receivers like a Jalen Polk. I think you may have a little bit of an argument there that maybe if the pads were on, that could have been broken up. But I also want to give Jalen a lot of credit on that. Showed a lot of athleticism, went up over the defender to make that catch. That got the loudest cheer of the day from the crowd on hand at Gillette. So you want to see big plays. Patriots can show you that they can deliver on big plays when it counts. But there's also a flip side to what we've seen on the field from these guys. There have been times where Drake has looked very much like a rookie. And we had a few moments, especially on Friday, made his first true mistake, I thought, today on Friday's practice. It was a check down. It was trying to go into the left flat. Matthew Judon read that right away, got the interception. If that was a game situation, folks, he would have taken that back for a pick six in a heartbeat. So that's a true interception. You want to see how he's going to respond. And I thought Drake responded actually pretty well through 4 completions in a row after that, including a nice out route to Jalen Polk. So that's the type of response. That's the type of resilience you want to see in your rookie quarterback. And I think they're showing that. And of course, we can tout Drake all we want to, Steve. I know everybody wants to see him, but most of us are in agreement that unless something drastically changes, Jacoby Brissett is probably going to be the opening day starter. And I think he's been more consistent. He's had his difficulties connecting downfield as well. Almost threw an interception on Friday. Didn't end up doing it. Did to Kyle Duggar on Wednesday. But there's still issues there as well. So this is going to be a growing pain offense. And even if Jacoby does start the season as your veteran, I still think Patriots fans need to practice temperance when it comes to this unit because there's still so much that has to come together.
Yeah. And, the offenses look clunky. I thought I read a couple of things that, on some of the throws that Drake was missing, his footwork got sloppy again.
Mm-hmm.
And, you're going to expect those things. He's a rookie. He's changing up the way he had done things, with his footwork. It's still a work in progress. We're only day 3 of training camp. So, I don't consider that a big red flag whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right with Jacoby Brissett. He's the veteran guy. He's not going to get too high or too low. He's going to go out and do his job, which he's done his whole career. I do think he's probably still going to start day 1 when the season starts. And I think that's the prudent move. There's no sense in rushing May into things.
Right.
But, he's not going to wow you with these big, like Joe Milton 60-yard throws. But he is that steadying mentor that's going to help these guys take his job. And what better, I think, compliment you can pay him than he's preparing those 2 guys to take his job.
To me, that just speaks so well to the character of Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby being at the helm of this team right now, to me, is such a big part of the potential growth that you're going to see, mostly in Drake Maye, but also in Joe Milton, because I think that guys like Brissett, who have the amount of battle tests they have on their resume, but also the amount of empathy for a young quarterback and knowing exactly how they need to be mentored and how they need to be brought along, especially in the modern day NFL, it means so much. This guy is the perfect bridge quarterback, and his knowledge of an Alex Van Pelt offense only speaks to his value to this team because of what he can bring and being able to run that Alex Van Pelt offense.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's the big thing. He already has that experience running this offense. And now he's just trying to find, that chemistry with his new receivers and, the running backs. And that, like I mentioned earlier, the running game still hasn't taken shape yet. That will start on Monday. And, we'll start seeing glimpses of that. And if they can get that running game going, you'll see a lot of this clunkiness disappear because then the offense can get into some kind of a rhythm. Right now, the defense, it's still kind of like spring and mini camp where it's like passing game. So they don't have to worry about a lot of the things they would. And, I'm not concerned the fact that they're doing the revolving door with the offensive line positioning. I mean, what better way of seeing who can play and where they can play? This is the time to do it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I'm glad that you mentioned the O-line, and I'll come back to that in just a moment because Murph and I had our thoughts on the process earlier this week. And I think a little bit of what we had to say may have been misconstrued, and I want to clarify that. So I'm glad that you brought that up. But bottom line, I agree with you wholeheartedly when it comes to the running game, adding another dimension and maybe helping the offense out a little bit. First of all, I think we can all agree that Alex Van Pelt's offense is at its best when you have a strong running game to open things up. It's predicated on that. then you can take the deep shots. You can navigate the middle part of the field, or you can utilize play action to make the quarterback come alive. It all stems from a strong running game. If you're not practicing it, or it's not practical for you to practice it, which early training camp practices and mini camp practices very seldom are, you don't hit, you don't have pads on, it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You can't get a feel for it.
Again, you day 3 of training camp and you have no pads on, Plus you're going against a really good defense.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of times, when people get kind of myopic, because they're focusing so much on the offense, you forget about the guys that are on the other side of the ball.
Right. Exactly. So well said. And yeah, it comes back to the old adage of steel sharpening steel, iron sharpens iron. I think to me, that really is something that people need to remember. This is a very good defense. That's a good point to make. And I think it gives a little bit of slack to this offense right now. But you did mention the offensive line. And I'm glad that you did, because there is a little bit of a turnstile feel to what the Patriots are doing at the tackle position right now. Chuck Okorafor seems pretty locked in at left tackle, and it looks like that's the direction the Patriots are going to go in. Now, Chuck's tried to put a lot of the concerns and quell a lot of the storm surrounding him when he said, I think you guys make a little bit more of a deal on this than it really is. I've played on the left. It's not a big deal to me. I know I can do the job. I'm going to go out there and do it. You always want to hear that. The verdict will be rendered whether or not that is true when the Patriots start to play preseason and regular season games. But on the right side, yeah, it is. It's a little bit of a gamble right now. There's a lot of uncertainty, and you're wondering who's going to take that role. And look, I don't think the left is necessarily completely nailed down yet either. I do believe at some point you're going to see Caden Wallace get some snaps over there, because the Patriots want to see what they have in terms of a versatile athlete for the rookie. I think you may see guys like Calvin Anderson get some snaps over there. He's played the left and played it well for the Denver Broncos. We saw him align at right a couple of days ago. Darian Lowe got the nod, and then you start to see a lot of these guys come in and play different roles. So I think you make a great point that it's very good to see what the talent level is and how versatile it is right now. I think the judgment can be rendered on this offensive line when we start to see what the regular rotation is going to be. And then I think we can really take a deeper dive into what they're going to be able to do on the field once we know who's going to be slotting where.
Yeah, and again, a couple of small things that I've read, even through the spring. And again, this will come as the guys get more familiar with their role and the position. They're not picking up those free blitzers that are coming in. That's something to keep an eye on in the days ahead, because as they start to settle in, with the guys that they're going to identify to be the starters, that's something they'll have to do better at, because you don't want someone getting a free run at your quarterback, especially if it's your, rookie first rounder. So that's something that, we'll have to all keep an eye on, but, it's early. I wasn't going to get too excited one way or the other. I'm just glad to see, the young guys making a play here and there. Not saying they're dominating, but even Kayshon Boutte today. I mean, I was reading about him just a few minutes before we started. He had a pretty productive day today.
He did. It goes back to just all of the players, whether it be on offense or on defense, that know that they're potentially on the roster bubble to make every play they can and try to make an impression every opportunity they get, whether it's early in training camp or late in training camp. Coaches keep diaries on this stuff. They keep notes on this. They definitely keep a sharp eye on what their players are doing. So all of this is making an impression. We've seen Kayshon Boutte make some plays. We've seen Jalen Reagor make some plays. Juju Smith-Schuster has been making them out there. Javon Baker. A lot of receivers right now trying to make their case to make a roster spot on this team. Tyquan Thornton was one of the very few bright spots on Thursday's practice. Patriots didn't have a whole lot to smile about. It was a sloppy day on both sides of the ball. Tyquan is really starting to come alive. So Pat's brain trust, especially that receivers room, they've definitely got their work cut out ahead of them to try to see who they can pare down and make this roster. But until then, you're going to continue to see guys make plays and make that decision all that much tougher.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Because I go back, I remember when Bill Parcells was the coach with the Patriots, and he was asked about Troy Brown, who was a
Hmm.
rookie. And he said, look, he's too small, he's too slow,
Hmm.
he has no future in the league. But every day he goes out and he makes a play that makes me want to keep him around for one more day.
Hmm.
And then he turned that into quite a very good career for the Patriots. So
Absolutely.
that's what these guys are doing. And that's, you might not get many reps, but in your reps, if you're, making plays, maybe you only get targeted 3 times. But
Hmm.
if you're hauling in those 3 passes, then, you know, that's a way to stick around for one more day.
Absolutely. And it goes back to the old adage, the argument about quality versus quantity. I say quality wins every time. And that is exactly, I think, what a lot of these guys are saying, even on the defensive side of the ball. I went out on a limb a couple of days ago and said that Isaiah Bolden would not only make this roster, but that he would be a significant contributor to this secondary. He's out there breaking up passes. He's really making his name. So that's just a brief example of the type of action you can see out there on the practice fields adjacent to Gillette Stadium each and every day, or mostly each and every day. Patriots have an off day scheduled on Saturday, but they'll be back on the field on Sunday. And then early next week, perhaps as early as Monday, those pads are going to come on. And that's where you're going to start to see a lot of the physicality begin. And that's where the real football begins. As a favorite movie character of mine of all time, Steve, Terry Silver of Karate Kid Part 3 would say, now the real pain begins. And that's exactly, I think, what the New England Patriots are looking forward to. Hopefully it won't be painful to watch. Hopefully it'll be fun to watch, but it might be painful for some of those guys that aren't used to getting hit all that much. Talk about a trial by fire. I think that'll be a great one to watch for your New England Patriots. And who better to break down all the ins and outs and get a reasonable take on the action on the field and away from the field than with our resident voice of reason right here, my good friend Steve Balestrieri. Steve, you always knock it out of the park every time you're here. I'm honored, privileged to share the microphone with you. Before I let you go, my friend, please let everyone know where they can reach out to you, interact with you, and what you have marinating in La Cucina Balestrieri between now and next week when we welcome you back here to Locked On.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at SteveB7SFG. I write for PatsFans.com. I'm already starting my Sunday column, writing about the first few days of training camp. Some of the things that we've watched on the tapes, and there's so many things going on at the same time. It's hard to keep an eye on all of it, but that's what we have great guys like you for.
Thank
You
you.
always keep an eye on what's going on down there, and we all appreciate that. I know being down there, the toughest thing always to see was the offensive and defensive linemen, because they were so far away, and there was so much going on in between them. It was tough to get a read on that, but I have a feeling you'll be watching that closely.
Absolutely. Binoculars in hand, boots on the ground. It's always an honor and always a privilege. You see the fans that show up each and every day, and they're excited to watch this team. It hasn't been the easiest last couple of years. I can't lie to the Patriots fans right now and say it's going to be a better year this year. It's going to be a lot more exciting. I don't know what the future holds, for this club. I think they'll struggle more than they'll succeed. But at the same time, you're going to see a hungrier unit. I think you're going to see a unit with more potential and maybe more prowess. And in that regard, this team is worth every bit of energy, all of the excitement that you can muster up to bring to this team this year. Do it, folks, because these guys are worth it. And even if the record doesn't reflect it at the end of the season, they are building something special here in Foxborough. You can see it. The seedlings are there, and I continue to enjoy and to cover this team each and every day. And more than that, I enjoy sharing the microphone with this gentleman here on the other side of the screen. He is truly not just our resident voice of reason, but one of my most valued friends. And I truly am honored to be able to cover this team alongside you, my friend. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for always being there for me. And folks, thank you for making us a part of your daily Patriots coverage. On behalf of my good friend, Steve Balestrieri of PatsFans.com, I'm Mike Debate, reminding you all to stay safe and to stay well and to be the change you wish to see in the world. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you back here again next time on Locked On Patriots.